The videos are not going to be in the correct order because all of the filming I did while I was cutting these little trees was off camera. You couldn't see a thing, so I have to fix that. Next up is this little snowman, which isn't actually as difficult to cut as the trees were, but there are just a lot of pieces. So that's why this comes up next. I need to start out with strips that are 3 inches by 2 inches, and then we will work on the body of the snowman. The snowman is on a 3 by 2 Tack to base. Let me check the hat is made up of 1/4 inch. The head is 5/8. The scarf is 1/4 inch, and it looks like these are about 5/8 as well. And then all of the corners are going to be clipped so that it makes it look more rounded. But I'm not going to take the time of making perfect circles. They'll be a little bit wonky, a little bit rounded because the corners will be clipped. When I finish nipping all of these pieces, I'm going to go back and collect them because the base has snow made up of white frit and dichro over clear frit, but the pieces are much larger. I don't think I have any pieces that large. So I'm going to collect the pieces that have been flying all over the place. Then I will run the fiber kiln to make all the little dots because these are much more regular ball shaped, most of them. But I may not. I may just collect all these and just put them on because I do like the very round dots, but sometimes it's just really not necessary. And I just need a jumble of snow. So I have to think about it, but first I'm going to start by going through this tray and collecting all these little white pieces. I've got all the white pieces done and mostly rounded. I may touch them up a little bit more as it gets closer to assembly, we'll see. Next I'm going to do the black, and I just need 1/4 inch strips, and I'm going to have to be really careful. When you look at where the hanger is, it's hard to see it unless the light is coming from behind it. You can actually see the wire back there. So I have to be really careful and make sure that stays tight. I may also add a stringer of black underneath, like I have a stringer of red as the band, because that would definitely cover up if that starts to separate a little bit. So next, hat, 1/4 inch strips, and scarf. Again, 1/4 inch strips. My space can get pretty out of control pretty quickly because I save everything, every little bit and scrap. You just never know when you're going to need it. And I'm going to go through all those little bits and scraps to see if I can find pieces that are on the diagonal, and they will make this little part of the scarf. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to nip the edges of these to make it look a little more rounded, and then look for pieces that I can use to make this part of the scarf. I'm going to start assembling some of these because I have little bits everywhere and I need to sort of control this mess a little bit better. So I'm going to start assembling. I need to find my ruler, my OmniGrid square ruler. Will help me make sure everything has stayed lined up. But yikes, my room is getting out of control. So let me go find it. I'm going to work from the top down so I make sure I get the hanger in the right spot. And then I'll adjust it from there. So I'm going to start with the hanger. I like to change the shape a little bit and not use them exactly as they are. I like them to be a little bit more rounded. So I just take jewelry making pliers, pinch it in, and then bend it back out. Make sure that they're flat. Sometimes when you do this, it makes them stick up a little bit. So just bend them into a little more pleasant round shape. This one can be fairly wide because the hat will cover. But see how it's a little crooked, so you just make sure everything is nice and straight when you're done. So the glass will lay flat. Line it up on the grid and put the hook in. And then you can start putting the pieces together. And if anything needs to be re-nipped, re-trimmed, this is a great time to do it. See, this one is a little bit rough there. So we'll just nip that out. Smooth it out a little bit. Make it look a little bit better. And look through the ruler so you make sure everything's lined up. The hook hasn't moved. The hat is symmetrical. Bottom part of the hat could use to be cleaned up a little bit as well. Good time to try on the, or put on the hat band. And I make sure that it's right in that seam so that even if the glass doesn't fuse exactly together, you're not going to be able to see it. And so that's why I was thinking underneath the hat, I may put a black stringer. We'll see. Now this one, I trimmed a little too much on the top. I don't really like that look. Or did I just put it on sideways? Oh, maybe I just put it on sideways? No, I don't like that one. You want it to be a little more squared off so that it lines up nicely with the hat. I want the brim of the hat to stick out a little bit past the white, but not too far. And then just keep placing, adjusting, placing, adjusting, placing, adjusting. Next part is going to be the scarf. I don't worry about the little tails of the scarf until the end. Now we're just going to put body. part of the body, or middle of the body, and then we're going to put the bottom part of the body. And at this point, I'm going to go back, make sure everything lines up pretty well. And then I'm going to pick up those little pieces and start building in the base of snow that he's sitting on. I buy stringers. I think it's looks like about 18 inches. An assortment, and it's a mixed blessing. I have a lot of different colors to choose from. Things like the snowman's nose, the little carrot. I have these great orange stringers. I find black stringers, I use a lot of black stringers, so every once in a while I have to go get a container of just black. So, like I said, it's mixed. You end up with a lot of really great colors that you wouldn't normally have if you buy the assortment, but then colors that you use a lot of, and I use a lot of black and white. I don't always have enough of the ones I need. Next up is dealing with the scarf, because that takes a little bit of playing and trimming and adjusting. That's not too bad. And after I do the scarf, then I will go back in and do the arms, the eyes, and the buttons. I'm going to have to wait and run the fiber kiln because I do not have enough of these little frit balls. And when I'm doing the snowmen, I like to make the frit balls out of stringer because then the size is very, very consistent. So those are the next two things. We're going to do the scarves and the little arms. I pulled out 1mm stringer for this project, but I really don't like the look of it. I prefer the 2mm stringer, and I am running out. So I'm hoping, I only have a couple little fingers left. I'm hoping I have enough. The frit balls, I'm hoping the 1mm stringer will do it. We shall see. While I'm working today, you can't hear it. You can hear the clicking of the kiln, which is going a lot. But there is a squirrel trying to chew his way through the siding of my house so it can be nice and warm in my attic. While I wait for the kiln to finish so that I can do some frit balls for the eyes and the buttons. I'm going to start building out the little snowbank that's underneath him. And I think instead of waiting to make frit balls, I'm just going to use the chunks of glass that I was nipping off the edges for this bottom part. And maybe for the snowflakes, I'll go back. We'll see. So after a quick fire in the fiber kiln, the little frit balls I needed are done. I have the ones for the eyes and the buttons of the snowman and also the nose of the reindeer, which is the ornament that I'm going to do for tomorrow. Alrighty, time to put the eyes and the buttons and then get these snowmen into the kiln. We want them as close to the same size as possible. So I paired them up ahead of time. And a few little pieces need to be touched up. So when I'm done with the buttons, I will make sure to touch up any loose arms, snow. Oh, that one's upside down. Okay, switch to time lapse. This is taking too long.